Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to this afternoon's Enterprise Committee meeting of August 9th here at City Hall. With me on the dais, we have a full complement of the committee. We have council members Lisa Goodman, Abdi Warsami, Alondra Cano, Steve Fletcher, and Kevin Reich. We have a quorum and are here to conduct the committee's business. I did want to point out that I am adding, as I've spoken to you through many of your offices, one item today, and it is the contract agreement authorizing a master agreement with the University of Minnesota that a couple months ago, you'll remember we had a little bit of conversation about. There are a few projects already in the queue that are eager to get going, and that's what made sense today. We also have with us and welcome Mr. Kevin McCoskey, who is the Director of Sponsored Projects Office at the university. So I will add that as the first discussion item today. We have a public hearing today on the internal audit ordinance and 4 consent agenda items in front of you. Let me just read those consent agenda items and we can dispense with that. Item number 2 is a contract with Canon Solutions for GIS plotting. Item number 3 is the agreement with IBM for the exchange of confidential information in helping to develop their software program. Item number 4 is an agreement with St. Paul to provide our CRM framework for the Step Up program. Item number 5 is a contract with N. Harris Computer for appraisal software support and services. This is to continue our current model of our current system with the assessor's office while we get our new improved system up and running. All of these are IT contracts, so if there's any questions, I'll be inviting somebody from IT up for any questions you might have. Any questions or concerns? Okay, with that, all in favor, please say aye. 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 That pertains to the 4 items on our consent agenda. I'd like to open, and I'm sorry, I might need some help from the clerk because we don't do this very often, a public hearing in Enterprise Committee, but we have a public hearing today for the internal auditor duties and audit process ordinance. Do we have anybody signed up to speak? I need to ask.
Madam Chair, we don't, but you'll still need to open the public hearing officially and offer the opportunity to speak and then close it.
So I would like to open up the public hearing for the consideration of this ordinance. Would anybody wish to speak? Would anyone wish to speak to the passage of this ordinance amending Title II, Chapter 17 of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances relating to administration? Would anybody like to speak? Thank you. With that, I will close the hearing and entertain any discussion or comments from my colleagues on this ordinance. Are there any? Seeing none, I will move approval of these changes in this ordinance. All those in favor, please say aye. 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 Opposed? That carries. Now on to our first discussion item that we've added, and that's the master agreement with the University of Minnesota. Here to brief us on it and just give us a quick few words is Mr. Jeff Schneider. Welcome.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair and members. As the chair stated, and you will recall, we were back in June, we were here asking your permission to proceed with a conversation with the university on 2 master contracts, one related to research and technical assistance and one related to real estate access. Today, I'm very pleased to be back in front of you to state that we have reached agreement on all major terms related to the research contract. And with the able assistance of Dan Hammer from the City Attorney's Office, I would like to acknowledge and thank Dan for his help with that. Again, the model here is based on a longstanding agreement between Hennepin County and the university in which they have an umbrella master agreement, and under that umbrella individual projects occur in a much more streamlined fashion with short 2 or 3 page forms that are administratively executed. So this avoids the need to execute full-blown contracts every time a department of the city wants to engage some unit of the university. So it has worked well at Hennepin County. They've done over 140 projects over the 15-year life of that contract. So, and we look forward to having a closer and more streamlined working relationship with this contract as well. And as the chair stated, we do have Kevin McCoskey here, who is the director of the office, who will be the university side this contract relationship. So,
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Is it, who will be this end of that
well,
relationship? Will that
the
be?
contract is with the coordinator's office. That's the umbrella. I mean, the coordinator will be signing the contract on behalf of the city. So,
Super, thank you.
so.
Any thoughts, questions? I know we had a little more discussion of this last time, so I'm pleased that I really thought you meant fall when you said late summer, and here we are in August taking care of
Well,
this.
one down and one to go.
So thank you. Thank you for working with us. I really do look forward to a broader relationship and one where we can work more easily between the city and one of our best resources here within our city with the University of Minnesota. So thank you. Thanks for your time and coming. I will move this for approval. Any last questions or thoughts? None? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries. The last thing on our agenda is the city coordinator's update. With us is our city coordinator, Ms. Nuria Rivera-Vandermeide. Welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm Nuria Rivera-Vandermeide. I am, a very loud city coordinator at the moment. I wanted to first thank Jeff. He really provided great leadership in moving this contract forward, and just appreciate all his efforts as he leaves the building or leaves the room. This really is a great opportunity to leverage the university in a much bigger way, and we're really excited to have that moving forward. He is also our liaison with the Federal Reserve on the minimum wage study, and so we plan and hope to come before you in September to take a look at the baseline of what they've been doing, and we'll have a much more robust conversation about what that looks like. For today, I thought I'd talk a little bit about and take some highlights on some of our teams. The small business team this summer has been very busy. They have responded to over 100 requests for assistance from business owners and entrepreneurs this summer alone. They continue to have community office hours that are very well attended, and so that has been a good way to be in community, and that has moved forward really well. They've been teaming up with civil rights as the advent of the July 1st increase on minimum wage came forward. They met on July 1st at a one-day canvas with 13 urban scholars, reaching 137 businesses, really focused on restaurants, cafes, and coffee shops, because we certainly heard a lot about those particular industries as we were talking about the minimum wage increase. Our small business team community liaison, Swato Abdi, collaborated with the health department and others to host a really successful East African Business Forum at the end of June, and that brought together about 120 East African business owners and entrepreneurs to figure out how to navigate the city and what resources are available. We plan to do something like that in the future for our Latino community and business owners as well. And then finally, they collaborated and supported business licensing and the passage of the new innovative and emerging small business permit, both testifying and bringing folks to City Hall to speak on behalf of this really new opportunity that business licensing was bringing forward. I want to touch a little bit on the Promise Zone, and I have asked Julie Learson, who is our manager out in the Promise Zone, to schedule a time in which to do a deeper dive with you intentionally around some of the programs and some of the successes that have been happening on the Promise Zone. But at a very high level, I will say that the program to date, and that started in 2015 for perhaps those who were not with us when we first got that designation. It is a designation. It does not come with any dollars. But what it does is it gives you preferential points in certain grants where they are applicable. To date, since 2015, we have applied for 53 grants and have been awarded about 50% of those, 25, which totals over $37 million coming into the Promise Zone. Half of those, which were based on preferential points, so had we not had a Promise Zone designation, arguably we would have left $19 million on the table. So we will see what that looks like in 2018. So far, we have applied for 13, and we've been awarded 3, although part of that is perhaps changes in administration policy, but more so these awards take some time to work through. They have also been partnering with Cura and the East St. Paul Neighborhood Development Company to look at capital and funding requests since 2009 and disaggregate that by neighborhood and by ward. An interesting initial preliminary study is that the per capita funding for Promise Zone neighborhoods, those in wards 4 and 5, receive about $529, $530 per capita versus what happens in other parts of our city, which is about $719. So they're about to do some additional research, overlay those with other maps, and hopefully come forward with some recommendations on community engagement strategies when it comes to click and funding and so forth. So you'll be hearing a little bit more about the Promise Zone from Julie and her staff in the near future. Then I also want to touch about sustainability. We have moved forward with a landlord engagement on energy efficiency strategy. I know I mentioned that last time we were here, that we were opening an RFQ. We are now in the process of finalizing a contract with an organization that has existing relationships with rental property owners. The goal would be to have that organization really work directly with property owners to pitch them on the benefits of cost energy savings. But really importantly, at least for me, that I think program evaluation is something that we don't often take the time to do in a city. We're either too reactive or too in the weeds, but this will have an element of doing exit interviews for rental property owners who either did not use the program and why, or those that did and what benefits they got from it. So as that contract comes forward, you'll also be hearing more from sustainability as that goes, continues to finalize. And today is a Southside Green Zones meeting at Little Earth with the midst of Farmers Market Week upon us. One final note before I turn into, and I want to introduce you to some folks that have just joined the coordinators team, is kind of an update on strategic planning. We had been working on a contract to move that forward. We should be getting, if dates are not on your calendar for the end of August already, we should be moving those dates forward. But we do have an organization that will help facilitate those conversations and make sure that our strategic planning efforts are aligned also with our racial equity plan obligations that stem from a council direction as well, and from the race and equity ordinance. With that, unless there are other questions, I wanted to introduce you and give some folks an opportunity to come up. Mr. Kim Havey joins us as our new sustainability manager in the Division of Sustainability. And following that, I'm really pleased to introduce you as well to Sanu Shrestha, who is our Human Trafficking Fellow. So unless you have questions for me, I thought I'd pass the podium over to our fine folks, and they can introduce themselves.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Havey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, council members and Chair Palmisano. I am thrilled to have the opportunity to lead the Sustainability Division of the City of Minneapolis. I have a deep passion for improving the environment and have dedicated the last 16 years to sustainability activities, both in the public sector through my work in the State Energy Office at the Department of Commerce, as well as in the private sector, consulting on green infrastructure, renewable energy, and sustainable building design. But while my history is important, and what's even more important is what I can do to help the city be more sustainable, economically successful, and environmentally just. With this trifocal lens in mind, I will focus on achieving 5 overarching goals in the near future. This is 1, demonstrate the effectiveness of the partnerships we have in place, such as the Clean Energy Partnership, by implementing work plan activities such as inclusionary financing and our benchmarking activities. Use the programs and policies in sustainability to enhance social equity and act as a vehicle to support environmental justice. Elevate the awareness and profile of the benefits of urban agriculture, community gardens, and our local farmers market, which now we have 30 throughout the city. 4th, encourage the city to lead by example in all of its operations and development activities, with in the near term a special focus on the new public service center, as well as the Upper Mississippi River Terminal development, and expand the capacity of our sustainability division to even have a farther reach throughout the community. And 5th, accelerate the implementation of the city's existing climate action plan by keeping a laser focus on the activities that will best help us achieve our long-term goal of reducing the city's greenhouse gas emissions by 80% by 2050. So I stand here before you to let you know that I am committed to working each and every day to reduce and mitigate the effects of climate change within our community and to support environmental justice in Minneapolis. With your continued support and the dedication of our excellent staff and our partners, we can meet this challenge and succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Havey. While I haven't personally been in any meetings with you, I have spoken to many, many people you've created a favorable impression with in your short time here so far. So the things that you have as a focus seem spot on. Are there any questions or thoughts or comments from others on the dais? Doesn't look like it. Thank you for coming and welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Sunu.
Thank you. Madam Chair and council members, my name is Sunu Shrestha, and I'm the new Human Trafficking Fellow in the City Coordinator's Office. The grant comes through two foundations, Novo Foundation and Humanity United, both based out in DC. And the goal of the grant is to develop a comprehensive, holistic, citywide approach to human trafficking, but with an emphasis on labor exploitation and labor trafficking, and a focus on LGBTQ communities. In my previous work at a nonprofit called PAVSA, which is Program for Aid to Victims of Sexual Assault in Duluth, I've had the opportunity to work with many government agencies, nonprofits, service providers, faith-based communities, schools, criminal justice systems, not only in Duluth, but here in the Twin Cities and throughout the state, to develop a coordinated regional response in Northeast Minnesota, especially in the Duluth community, and also working with many advocates here in the Twin Cities to pass the Safe Harbor for Juvenile Act, the implementation of No Wrong Door Services model, and mobilizing the community to extend Safe Harbor approach to victims of all ages. I'm very, very thrilled and excited to be in this new position and look really forward to working with each one of you, different departments within the city enterprise, and also other organizations and stakeholders and survivors in general outside of the city to develop a new blueprint on human trafficking. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions from my colleagues? Ms. Shrestha, I have had the opportunity to work with you. I think it was just your second day on the job. You joined in on our trafficking prevention work group led by City Attorney Siegel. And we're really excited to have you here. We love your background, and it will be interesting to see where you take this. It is an expansion of some of our trafficking prevention efforts more into labor kinds of spaces too. So welcome and good luck.
Thank you.
Yep. So with that, did you have anything else?
I just wanted to close it out and just say, Chair Palmisano, that I think with the folks that you see here, plus some of the things that I've highlighted, today I wanted to have a theme. This is how the City Coordinator's Office kind of works cross-enterprise and cross-jurisdiction boundaries. The great work that the City Attorney's Office has moved forward in the area of juvenile sex trafficking, the amazing work the sustainability team really moves across departments in various ways. Small business really isn't just about some of the business efforts that lie in one singular department, but really work to, as they did with civil rights, to move across some of their cross-jurisdictional partners. And Promozone obviously is in community. Some of the benefits and I think some of the values that the City Coordinator Office brings, and I'm really proud to be able to be part of that team myself.
Exactly, well said. I also appreciate, I believe it was a few years ago, that there was a lot of concern coming from council because we didn't know about the promise zone in the detail that you just provided us as to what neighborhoods were able to receive what potential kinds of benefits, and how Julie's position, I'm sorry, I forget her last name, was well placed. Pearson. Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had the opportunity to attend the briefing on the Promise Zone yesterday, and I sat next to Councilmember Fletcher. And I thought, for the most part, it was a good briefing on what's happening, but I do think that a deeper look at what's going on would make a lot of sense. I thought a lot of the things they were talking about were things that were already happening. I don't want us to be in the position of claiming credit. The Thor project is an example they pointed out as something that the Promise Zone was working on, when kind of not. I don't believe that was exactly as a result of the Promise Zone. So I think it makes some sense to do a deeper dive into what they're doing. Their VISTA volunteers are really impressive. you guys should meet this team of people. It is amazing, and they are really motivated to do this work. So I think some of us, myself included, were pretty skeptical about getting this designation and would anything come of it. And I'm not sure if anything's come of it, because the report I saw was a lot of what was already going on. But if all that came out of it was the VISTA volunteers who are so dedicated and intelligent and articulate, I think that would be enough. But I would guess there's more work coming out of it than just the overview that we had the opportunity to see. So it might be a good report at a deeper level for the Enterprise Committee at some time. I'm happy to take up the economic development section of it in the committee I chair if need be too.
Chair Palmisano, Councilmember Goodman, I appreciate that. I think part of what the work that they do is in fact leverage things that are already happening in the community, and I think that's evident from those partnerships. I will say that the VISTA program is the people that we've been able to retain is to me a pipeline opportunity, because not only are they great, but frankly, they are not paid well, and we are not allowed to supplement their income. So we are actually working in our office right now to figure out how we can transfer some of those people in permanent positions so that we actually don't lose that talent moving forward. One of those VISTA volunteers is part of now the recast program. Another one of those former volunteers is part of the small business team. So where we have opportunities to retain that quality of staff, we are certainly trying to do that as well. And there certainly will be, when we come back, a little deeper dive into some of the activities that they've been doing. There is a very strong economic development group working. There's a strong housing group working. And the results of this Cura study, I think, will be really interesting to council and community as well. So we'll look forward to come back and report on that.
Thank you. Anything else? Nope.
Thank you.
With that, we're complete with our agenda today. So this meeting is adjourned, and in a couple of minutes, we're going to start and have to gavel in a full city council meeting. So thank you. We're adjourned.